careful.
Yeah, my partner was in live TV production for 17 years.
Oh, okay.
And she did the news forever. And she, she did all the different pieces, the production and directing and camera and all that stuff. And so when we watch TV, it's a whole different experience.
I'm sure.
With her talking about what's happening, behind the scenes and what they're screwing up. And for a long time I was like, could you just let it go? You don't do that anymore. Now she sells cars. So
That's hilarious.
It's like, yeah.
All right, it's working. We're live.
Hoorah.
There's us.
There you go. That's good. Watch that. Everybody chats. See how this goes.
Flannel shirts.
Yeah, hopefully this works. Ooh. Just had to
And the
take.
band's there. And Marilyn Manson's
I'm
like,
gonna switch to Mach's house.
we're here. I got a crush on Kennedy. And talking all this pop culture stuff. He's just like, and they have footage of it because they could show it. But he's obviously in a band. It's been signed, and they have this look. Pretty standard. Pearl Jam stuff. And then like the next year, he's got the eyes. Yeah, like freaky cat eyes in and white face and all that. He just decided I'm gonna do shock rock, and then he did.
We don't have anybody watching, by the way.
Recently, after that,
Okay.
I know you were expecting like
Instantly, like 1,000 people.
I know. I thought it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like
Oh yeah,
playing a gig at a restaurant or something. No one's going to listen at first until eventually a few people will listen. That's what it is digital busking.
Right.
This is a background interview. Oh, it's taped in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, right?
got an audience who figured it out. It's like, I'm not gonna be there for 10 years.
Oh, there we are. Hopefully we'll stream up.
To someone.
Okay, then I'll unmute these things too.
Good girl. Go.
That'd have been funny if we were starting. We're walking through going, go potty.
Go potty, the session's about to begin.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted her to go before.
Yeah. Yay.
You want,
But there's people
me to
here.
attach her to-
I would attach her if you're out here, yeah.
Where do you want me to be? Do something?
Nothing, you don't have to do anything. If you just want to hang with us.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
you wanted me to be on Facebook.
I think I can catch it here.
I can get
You don't
that.
mess
I
with
get
it,
that.
yeah.
You wanna be
It's easier for you if someone else shows up and they ring the doorbell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I put the sign out there for them to go run by.
Oh, perfect, okay.
Alright.
Cool. Cool, you guys want to start?
Yeah.
It's, we're live right now on YouTube, so I'm just going to unmute these guys.
Thousands of people are watching.
Yeah.
1,000.
Thousands of person.
I paid for them.
You paid. Sweet. What platform
Thousands of
did
robots
you
are
use?
watching right now.
All the bots. Yes.
Bots are cool. Yeah.
Bots are my main super fans.
Robots.
I know, that's pretty much. I'm using this just because it's recording is all, so that's why it's going to be weird. Yeah, I know. Thanks, appreciate that. Yeah, so it's a little different because as you guys have been to these before, we usually just hang out here without all of this. But I thought it could be fun to, when we're recording it, it's live on YouTube, but we're going to record it. There may be some snippets, that stuff we could use later, which might be helpful to record some of it and share that. But the reason we do this is we try to do them every 2 or 3 months, but we're a little lacking is just to bring artists together. It's something my wife and I like to invest in, to bring folks together. I think Dearfellow has been coming since the first one, which has been great. So it's fun to do these. It's fun just to pick a topic, and then the conversations can go anywhere. So it's wherever the questions get, wherever they lead to. And so this is a lot more formal than it usually is, but it is just because we're recording. And so for those of you, for the 1,000 bots that are watching us, I'm Chris Petrafka with Music Firsthand, and this is an artist get-together, and so we're talking to artists or with artists. We've probably got 60, 70 artists here in the yard. It's a packed house, so we're pretty excited to have all of you here. Thank you, those in the back. And I knew that Alex and Jake here went to the DIY Musician Conference. I went a year ago and really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. So that's why we thought it might be fun to bring you guys in. And thought that was a good topic. And there's it just worked out that you guys went to a lot of different sessions at the show. So let me have you guys introduce yourselves, and then talk a little bit about why you went to the conference, a few things about what you got out of it, and then we'll just open it up to questions and keep it pretty casual.
That's good.
Cool. Alex?
Well, I'm Alex Winters, and I went to the conference because I wanted to get an idea of what I needed to do to scale up my music business, and where I needed to be heading in order to hit those management and the booking agency tiers. You know, what those levels were that I had to be at to attract them. So that was my main focus, and to meet people. I met a ton of really awesome people.
And how long have you been performing?
I have been performing for 15 years in various forms.
Okay.
From a 6-piece rock band to solo, just me and guitar.
Yeah, okay. Great.
Which is what I'm doing the most of right now, but I am trying to put together a band so that I can get my rock on.
Okay.
Back
Cool.
on, I guess.
And I'm Jake Farr, and I went to the DIY conference because I wanted to learn a lot about the digital side of marketing and Spotify, social media, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't have to buy so many robots on social media anymore. I'm just kidding. I haven't done that. But
Wink, wink.
yeah.
If you have, I want to know which ones.
Yeah.
Which ones worked.
No, but it was a really great experience. I write kind of indie folk, singer-songwriter type music, and teach guitar lessons, and I've been performing and teaching for about 11 years.
Yeah. Great. So maybe just a quick rundown of the sessions that each of you attended. And then I'd love to know, of the ones you attended, which one do you want to maybe talk about and say, hey, here's some insights that I learned and stuff I walked away from? Because I'm guessing you all have probably questions too. If you're here, you're thinking, okay, how can you guys save them a lot of money by sharing the knowledge? But maybe just a couple, what did you go to and what were you really impressed with?
I don't have the list of the classes that I went
that's
to.
That's all right. We can just start with what's top of mind for you from the conference.
Well, so I actually brought a couple of handouts. I didn't make copies, but if you guys wanted to take pictures with your phone, you totally could. The one course that really stood out to me was the artist management from Olivia. I think her name was Olivia Management. And she had so much good information, and she was so organized, and I was just like, I love this lady. So she gave me 2 lists that I thought were really good, kind of to-do lists. One was how to be your own manager, and the other one was 10 tools that artists can use, which I found I was already using a lot of them, so I was really pleased with myself about that. But
were there any tools in there that you were not using that surprised you?
The hammer, right? No, I use a hammer. Yeah, I use it. I also
on everything.
I own my own miter saw as well. I'm down with the hand tools. Follow up then, I didn't use. So I'll just run down the list real quick, and you guys, if you have any questions on any of these, you can pipe in because I'm familiar with most of them. She mentioned Artist Growth, which is you can manage your band calendar, your contracts, your merch, and your contacts all through that service. It's like $15 a month.
What is it?
It's called Artist Growth.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've been on.
And then SongSpace, which is it helps the music creators organize their creations. Now, I don't use SongSpace. I use MasterWriter. If you guys have heard of that, it's similar. I love MasterWriter. It's so fun. And then MailChimp for your email list. Asana for task management, which I love. Bands in Town for your Facebook stuff. And then Songkick for Spotify integration. But that actually got me back using Songkick because I was using both for a while, and then I was trying to simplify, and so I cut out Songkick. And then she was like, well, but it puts your gigs on Spotify. And I was like, oh. Well, so that inspired me to start using that again. Canva for graphics. If you guys don't know about Canva, it's free and it's like 10 times, probably 100 times easier to use than Photoshop. You do not need a graphics design degree to create beautiful graphics for your social media. Follow Up Then, which I haven't looked into, but it's basically a service that helps you manage like contacts and when to follow up with them. Probably great for booking. And then At Venue, that was another one that I'm not sure of, but she said they report to SoundScan. So if anybody knows about that, do you know anything about that? Okay. And then Pledge Music for releasing music as opposed to Kickstarter, because they're much more artist-centric, and you don't have to hit your goal, if I remember correctly, to still release your music. Like Kickstarter, if you don't hit your goal, then your project's done, right? So, and then Noise Trade for capturing fans. You can give away free music and get their email address.
Oh.
So.
Can you go through the first like 3 of those?
Yeah. And you can take a picture of this or whatever afterwards if you want. The first 3 were Artist Growth.
Can't hear over the train. Is that what you're saying, John?
Artist Growth, Song Space, and MailChimp.
SongSpace.
Song Space or Master Writer.
Master Writer. That's
Yeah.
the one.
And I think Music Firsthand.
Do the same thing.
Music Firsthand was in there somewhere.
Yes,
I
that was
just kind of mumbled over it.
For sure.
Master Writer right now is 50% off
Yes.
at the moment.
Always buy it when it's on sale because then you'll get in the on sale cycle. So I always renew when it's 50% off.
And what does that software do specifically? Does it just sort of organize your lyrics?
Organizes your lyrics. It has a rhyming dictionary, a phrase dictionary, antonyms, synonyms, thesaurus. You can collect. So when you're searching, let's say I want to write a song about a train. You can type in train and it'll show you every phrase that it has in its database that has the word train in it. And then you can double click them and it'll collect them for you. And then you can go off and find words that rhyme with train. And then you collect those. And at the end, you have like a collection of words and phrases to kind of play with in your song.
Another cool thing about it has
Cool.
it has basically like family rhymes and like far away rhyme. I forgot.
Yeah, close rhymes,
Close
exact
And
rhymes.
so it can show you things that really don't feel connected to it at all, and then it gives you a word that you could possibly use
Totally.
in your music. If you've ever done like worksheets for software,
Mm-hmm.
Is there like an Eminem version of it?
and then you could use it probably if he cared enough.
He might endorse it.
He might
in
have
fact.
invented,
I
yeah.
know Rod Thomas endorses it
Exactly.
and a bunch of big name artists. But also you can record. There's a little recording section where you can record roughs of your songs, and that way, and it's attached to the lyrics and all the things that you collected. Yeah. Well, it doesn't create a chart, but it keeps your recording together with all the things that you've been working on. So,
Don't like about it is the app version is completely non-functional.
wait, there's an app version?
Don't use it. It
Oh.
literally just shows the names of your songs, and you can click on them, and you can see just the text. You can't actually do anything with it.
Okay, well, don't use the
yeah.
app
Use
version. Okay.
Just use the desktop.
I didn't
version.
even know there was one. There's the old version was a standalone, the 2.0,
Yeah.
and then when they switched to 3.0, I had really, really bad internet at my house, and I was like, I can't use this. I emailed the company. I was like, I can't use this because my internet's not good enough. And so they gave me some plug-in to, it was the recording feature, I think, because it was like SoundCloud where it recorded live into the app. And so they worked on it and gave me a plug-in that I could use for the old software to be able to still manage that stuff until now my internet's a lot better, so it's not an issue anymore. But I thought that was really nice. It really spoke to their customer service.
That's and then if so, anybody missed the list too, and then I could probably actually even print a copy in the chat that we've got
Yeah,
up too, so I can
absolutely.
do that. So good. So Jake, what about you? So some sessions you walked away from really impressed with, or top of mind?
Sure. Speaking of Eminem, since we were, the guy that kind of does Eminem's digital marketing was there, and he gave a session, and I got to have a private meeting with him. He does a lot of artists, a lot of pop, really famous artists, and he has a company called FameHouse.net. Are you familiar?
I looked those guys up too.
Yeah, they're really, really good. He's really smart, and he has a free he calls it a white sheet on his website that tells you everything that they do. So they're all their strategy for all these huge artists, and it's using a lot of the tools that she talked about. But it's very cool. It's very like wordy. I feel like it would take you several days to read through it all.
Did you downloaded it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one
have
thing
it
that
to
I
do
liked
with
was it gave you a kind of a formula for digital marketing. And this is a little bit, I'm probably not doing exactly right. I tried to find the graphic that he showed today, but I just had to go by memory in my notes at the time. But the basic idea was, for digital marketing, you have social media, streaming, your email list, and your website. And you're basically tasked with growing all of those things through a few methods I'll tell you about in a second. But once you have those, you can collect data from all of those and figure out where your fans are, more about your specific niche, your market. And then that's when you direct those people to your e-commerce, so selling basically merchandise. It's how you target digital advertisements and direct people to a fan club. So it's a really cool idea that you could basically online get a really solid fan base. And some of the tips he said that that were kind of specific was to use show.co, which was a lot like, I don't know what website you just said, but it's one of those websites where you can put a gate on something, or you can run a contest. It's basically a way to get like a bunch of emails, a bunch of people who are potentially interested in your style of music, and then you can then market to them afterwards.
Yeah, and CD Baby just bought them,
Yes.
which is why they were pushing it so hard at the conference.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool. I did a little baby campaign with it just to test it out, and it's pretty slick.
Yeah, so if you use CD Baby, you actually get to use it for free, which is pretty cool.
And we were talking while we were getting set up. One of the things you'd mentioned was that you came away excited, inspired by some of the stuff you learned, and you've tested some things out. Some worked, some didn't. So what are some things you guys have tested that worked and some that haven't since you've been back?
Well, I can't say that they don't work. I
Sure.
can say what did not work for me personally yet. I haven't given up.
Yeah, there you go.
One of them was a one I went to, which I would recommend going to this guy's website. His name's Rick Barker, and he was Taylor Swift's manager for like the first decade of her career. But now he just helps out indie artists and comes up with online products to help you build your own, online audience. And he, with this girl named Dawn, I can't remember her last name, they did Facebook live streaming for a year, and she made $74,000+ just performing on a regular basis and putting a PayPal tip jar, which is pretty awesome. I think a little bit of both. I'm not sure the whole legality of doing cover songs on Facebook, but I actually watched a few and she did a couple. So, but I think mostly
If they find
originals.
out that there's a cover song in there, they will pull your video.
Yeah. So it's probably technically not legal, but it's probably not going to be terrible.
I mean, unless
either.
you have a license for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CD Baby will license your stuff.
Yeah.
If you get a license for it, you have a license,
Mhm.
then your cover of someone's song is split between the two because it's yours. You just play Prince's song, and they just shut it down.
That's what I'm
Okay.
talking
If
about.
you're singing Prince, Prince just shut that license.
That makes sense.
CD Baby lets you get those enough payments.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So CD Baby will potentially, I'm repeating you because I have a microphone. CD Baby will potentially license a cover song if you register it with them.
Is it just sync licenses or mechanical?
I-
Do they only do mechanical or do they also do sync for video?
Now, are you talking about will you get paid
No,
royalties?
the licensing that CD Baby
Oh.
covers.
I'm not sure. Do you know the answer to that question?
They will secure a license of someone else's song for you to perform them and pay that fee out of the rights that come through them. So an example is if you record Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, they'll secure the license to pay Michael Jackson, and they give you your performance fee as well. So
Yeah, it's a performance, not. I don't think mechanical applies.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
because
But-
audio is only you only need a mechanical license. videos synced with music, it's a
Yeah.
sync license and it's a different thing and it's like way more expensive.
But from what I understand, a sync license is for recorded
Does that
music,
reach out
not
there?
your version of someone else's
No.
song. So your version of someone
Just
else's
the audio.
original work of that person's song. What they have to license is the
I think that's why you're allowed to monetize cover songs on
Exactly.
YouTube. Because
And
it's your
that's-
rendition,
that's
if
what,
you
like,
were to sing it
a
word
fee
for
would
word,
be,
if you were gonna,
we'll hire somebody to do a cover of the song,
Exactly.
and they won't
So-
pay that.
when I'm
You wanna
doing a
repeat
live
that?
stream
Sorry.
Not
of a
really,
show,
because I don't know that
if I
that's
have my
right.
background music on and there's recorded music,
Yeah,
they
that's-
shut down the live stream. But if I'm singing those same songs on the show, they don't shut it down because it's your version of it. Now, you can't make money on it.
Yeah, that makes
You
sense.
make money on it. The license has to be there, and that's what.
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
secured one from CD Baby because I haven't gone that distance.
Gotcha.
I don't make any money on that live stream yet. That's what we.
But it's something you want to look into before you go down that path, and then you get shut down.
With what
Yeah.
Jake is saying, someone did it and they figured out how to do it, so it's possible, which is great. Let's do it.
Well,
Well,
if you
the-
do it in
the
the middle
way-
of a live show, Facebook isn't watching your entire performance. So if it's just the one song, it's easier for them to find it and
Well,
shut
they
you
have
down.
robots.
But the
Robots-
bots are watching.
it's
The
not-
bots are always watching. Yes.
So if you have enough delineation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know that they won't take off your cover songs, because I have cover songs on Facebook Live that are just the song and then the video's done and it's still there.
Yeah, it's you doing it.
Yeah.
It's you.
I think YouTube's a little better at that still, catching that stuff. So.
If you're a super tight cover band and do exact version of Prince's Kiss,
Then
you're
they
probably
don't
gonna
pull
take
it,
Yeah, you sound just like them.
No,
But you
that's
have to
Prince's.
add your own flair, you know?
You
You have
gotta
to
slow it down.
vary it up a little bit.
So Jake, what else did you other insights that you sort of came away from there and said, hey, I'm gonna try this out, and
I think that's a long road. Like what she did is she did a PayPal.me link, and people basically tipped her, and she built up a fan base. And there's a whole course you can buy on how to do it. I have not taken the course.
from her?
From Rick Barker.
Okay.
So rickbarker.com. I actually really liked his teaching style, and I probably will purchase some of his courses. I just haven't done it yet. But the thing I really took away from that, from me personally, was just that with social media, you don't own anything. Even if you get a bunch of followers and engagement, it can be the next MySpace. Probably won't be for a while, but it could be. So while you're using that as like the biggest part of your fan funnel to like, get people interested in your music, I think you have to play by the rules of that specific platform. So if Facebook wants you to buy ads, or if Facebook wants you to do Facebook Live, or if Facebook is featuring people who ask questions, or whatever it happens to be that month, I think that's what you need to focus on. Because otherwise, you're on their territory doing their stuff. If you want to build a following, you need to kind of play by the rules. At least that's where I've had the most success so far.
And definitely play to the things that they are focusing on. If
Yeah.
they're focusing on video, do video.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then of the stuff that you guys have come back and had some success with, that you really feel like, wow, this is now maybe a potential game changer, what are some things you walked away with?
You want to go, or you want me to go? I feel like I just
Well,
talked a
I
lot.
kind of just came back and I really shut down for a bit because doing all the things is so much work and doing them well. And I just came off of a year of working with Carlos Castillo. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's really awesome, and I love working with him. But I was doing his Twitter marketing thing, and I did it for probably solid for about 6 months, and it turned into spending hours a day on Twitter, going through messaging and talking with people, which is great if you have 2 or 3 hours a day to do that, to sell $50 or $100 worth of music a month. For me, I could book a couple of gigs and have that time back. So, so the digital marketing stuff, I really kind of taken a step back from that and have really kind of just regrouped, tried to figure out what my goals are and where I really want to be spending my time versus where everybody says I need to be spending my time.
And you probably saw too where Facebook has changed their algorithm again too, where they've been almost impossible for organic growth. It has to be pretty much paid now to get moving. Yeah, I mean, they've changed it again. So To your
Did
point about
they?
yeah, spending time on there.
I
So that
post
was
like
just
2
announced.
things a week on my Facebook page. I have a Facebook group, friends, friends of Alex Winters, friends plus fans equals friends.
better than a
I've
stan.
I've got almost 400 people in there who are super great. They see everything that I post if they want to, because it's a group. So every time I post something, they get a notification that I posted it. I post not a whole lot about gigs in there, but that's where you build your relationships. You're not going to build relationships on a Facebook page unless you're just paying, every single post. So yeah, I would recommend, if you don't have a Facebook group, I would highly recommend starting one and adding a few of your family members who really want to support your career, and any of your fans, people who are on your email list. Those are great candidates for the group. We have a lot of fun in mine. We tell stupid jokes and talk about life, and they help me make decisions on what merch I'm going to put out next, and it's nice.
And that's your own private group that.
Yeah, it's a closed group,
Yep.
so you can find it if you search for it, but you have to be approved
Okay.
to be in there.
Do a lot of you guys have that too, like your own private group? No. Yeah.
But I do know that all the groups that I'm a part of, I see their stuff all the time mostly, so it's like, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I don't even see my own stuff.
Yeah.
Right, I know, right?
I'm seeing that more though nowadays too, is the private group, because I'll get something like an invite too, and we've done that with our live stream show. Is like, because people seem to get overwhelmed with Facebook, not just general public, and they'd rather keep track of a group. And
Yeah, I hate
Yeah.
the feed. The Facebook feed is a nightmare,
Yes.
And you can, every time I get on there, I spend like 10 minutes culling it, unfollow, unlike, because you collect all these things we've been on Facebook for how many years now? It's like living in the same house for 15 years, and you got a bunch of crap in the garage. Every once in a while, you got to go and kind of
yeah.
clean it out so that feed is meaningful.
Yep.
Because it's easy for that to get out of control.
So I don't know if you guys came with questions you got set, but I mean, I can, because there's a whole list of all the topics you went to, and we can almost hit them one by one of like, here's the key takeaways. But I don't know if you guys have burning questions you're waiting to jump in and ask.
I have one question
Yeah.
that I always like to ask about anything, is that, and you kind of hit on it at the very beginning, but you both kind of said something, and I would say, Rick from you and Olivia from you, were those the two most impactful, one most impactful thing that you did that whole time?
So
Was it the Airbnb? Or was it, I mean, what was the most impactful thing from that weekend experience?
So the most impactful thing from that whole weekend
Just
experience.
right out there, it's like, oh, this happened. I saw David Bowie do that, or whatever. Do you have any?
So the Olivia management thing was really great for me, because she talked about how management should be a partnership, and not a lot of things that people think that management should be, and managers too. But I guess that's why I liked her so much, was because she really focused on that being a relationship, not being a one-sided, or she's like, I'm not your mom, I'm not your executive assistant or whatever, this is a business venture and we're in it together, because if you make money, then I make money. So, and that's the only way that works. But I also, I met some really cool Austin people, because I always have to leave Austin to meet Austin people, or I can come here.
Or you
I
have
mean,
to
this
come
is
here,
great,
yes.
but I live in Georgetown, so I don't spend a lot of time in Austin, because it's just far enough away that it's like a huge ordeal for me to come down here for an evening. But so I got to meet John Patty and his brand new manager, and they were so much fun. We became like conference buddies, and we just hung out the whole time. And so that was really like my favorite thing about the conference, was we met pretty much from the beginning, and we just hung out the whole time, and we just had a blast.
I would say there was a lot of different things, but one of the things that I was really excited about, and I'm still excited about, and I'm experimenting with right now, was the idea of how to like grow on Spotify more than even any of the other streaming platforms. And I went to a couple of different sessions on that. And so I'll read you the basic steps, but there's one that it's like all these easy steps, and then there's one that there's a lot of meat to that you basically have to spend a lot of time on if you want to do it. One is to verify your profile. If you're not already verified, it's very easy to do. You basically just have to fill out a form. It gives you the check mark and lets you see the analytics, which is the actual important part.
Analytics is the bomb. Yeah.
Then if you want to like get people to follow your stuff, you can obviously cross promote with social media. You can embed the music on your website, a follow button. Then there's playlisting, which is that important thing that I'll get back to. And then with Spotify and streaming services, it's much more about releasing consistently than it is about having like a really big album release. It's almost better in that if you're trying to grow on Spotify and use that as a main tool, it's almost better to release a song and have it get traction and then release another song and have it get traction. That's better overall. So the playlisting thing, there's 6 types of playlists on Spotify. There's your playlist, other people's playlists, branded playlists, collaborative playlists, algorithmic playlists, and Spotify official. If you get your song on a Spotify official playlist, it can literally make you like a ton of money overnight. They were doing a case study on someone who made like $80,000 in a week because their song got picked up by like My Favorite Coffee House or something. And all of those streams add up, and if you're not with a label, then you own the whole song and you get all the money. So that's obviously kind of the ultimate goal, although it's really hard to do. Those are curated by, you know, Spotify people, and they're mostly putting really famous music on there by famous artists with record labels. But the way to get around that, which some people have done, is through playlisting. Building your own playlist that attracts a lot of followers that you promote, and you put one of your songs on there. And then you get on a bunch of other people's playlists by pitching to them. You can submit to brands, like maybe if you have a song that'd be really good for running, you could get like on a Nike playlist or something, whatever. And then all those different things could get you on an algorithmic playlist, like Fresh Finds. And then at that point, if you're getting some press, you've got on these other playlists, you're getting traction, there is potential you could pitch to a big time playlist. Which some people, very few people, but some people have had a lot of success with, even without a record label.
Yep.
So that was exciting for me.
Yeah. Do you guys do a lot with Spotify right now? Yeah.
Great
Yeah,
idea.
you guys do it in a big, yeah. Yeah, I didn't know all that about the playlist. Wow, I didn't really.
There's some companies out there that are curating Spotify playlists too, kind of like maybe a record label used to do, where they would collect the artists and they would put out, you know, the samplers. So they're doing things like that. They're collecting artists, and they're doing, you know, here's an indie rock playlist for our, you know, under our umbrella, and so you can pitch. I learned that from one of those classes. You can pitch to those people and get your songs on there. But also just going to conferences. Like I went to the DIY music conference and I got on like 2 or 3 Spotify playlists because everybody was excited about Spotify, and they were like, let's all create a playlist and put each other's songs on it. And some of the guys have been getting some traction with it. So
We're about to launch our Music Firsthand playlist.
There you go.
All our artists we're working
Absolutely.
with. Yeah, that's right.
It's a great idea.
Our intern's working on it.
So
tonight.
I did, sorry, I don't mean to be talking
No,
so
you're
much,
fine.
but I did a female Austin list. So if y'all are on Spotify, let me get your Spotify information so that I can get you added to it. Yeah.
Johnny, were you going to ask a question? Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Chick-fil.
Yeah, just want
He
to make
was
sure.
excited,
Yes,
yeah.
okay.
Female Austin? My wife's a female singer, and I love her, so I'm going to contribute as well.
Excellent.
Her hit song, Sex and Coffee.
Nice.
Sex and
I
coffee.
love it already.
I got to make sure
Two of
that's
the
recorded.
best things in the world.
And then one of my favorite, I remember from a year ago, was the band makeover. You guys went to that? Okay, so this is pretty cool. They do this band makeover. So who
Tom
did it this year?
Jackson,
Tom Jackson
yeah.
did it again
Oh,
this
yeah.
year. So tell us
He's
how
the-
this thing
he's
goes
the
down.
one.
It's a whole theatrical experience.
Did you go?
I saw the singer-songwriter one.
Okay, you want to talk about that one?
Well, I actually didn't get a lot out of that specific thing, but I have read Tom Jackson's book, and I think it's really, really great as far as like, one of the take-home points is, he says a live performance is, oh geez, I'm gonna have to do math, like live streaming right now. But it's basically like 50% visual.
It's 15% words,
Thank you. You didn't
25%
take over.
how you say it, and 55% what it looks like.
Yeah. So,
55% what it looks like. That's a huge number.
and for a singer-songwriter, if you're just standing behind the microphone the whole night strumming, then it pretty much looks the same. So you have to get creative of like, what am I gonna do to change this up a little? Even like, it can be something little, like changing instruments.
Changing
Or
guitar to
having someone
ukulele
else
or
sing on the
acoustic to
vocals or
electric.
something. Yeah.
Standing up, sitting
Different
down.
wig, yes.
Different wig.
You can take off an article of clothing after every
Yes.
song.
There you go.
Now
That's
you're
what-
talking.
I got arrested after my last show.
Nice. Wait, when's your next show? I want to see that.
Slowly remove your glasses, Jake.
Well, I saw what's her name, Grace Potter. She uses her outfit, even though she's playing with a band and she's all over the stage. She still uses her outfit. She changes her jacket. She changes her top. She, when they take a break and she comes back and she's in a different outfit. Those are not musical things at all, but they make the show more interesting. When she comes back out, you're like, oh my God, she's, now what she's wearing. I got all these things to look at and think about and analyze because I'm a nerd like that. But, and then by the time you finish doing all that overthinking, she's like 3/4 of the way through the song, and then you're like sucked back into the music.
But it was eye-opening for me when I sat through and he talked a lot about that stuff because I was not conscious of it. But now when I go see live bands, it's ruined me because now I can't go watch. And I'm like, at least take a shoe off or something. Like, come on, like, I know, this is killing me. Yeah, just playing these songs. So there is some truth to that, and then the way he talks about using the stage and using every bit of the stage and how you time it is pretty powerful.
And with the singer-songwriter thing, they only got through like one song,
Yeah.
right? So it was like, but he talks about rearranging your songs. It doesn't have to be like the record. And I've talked to people who say, oh, it has to be exactly like the record. And I'm like, well, but if I did this, where she started out with the chorus instead of the 4 bars of this and and then the intro and then going into the first verse. He had her do an out of time strum and sing the chorus and then jump into the song. And so he plays with arrangements. Do it different. There's no rules there's no time limit. That's one thing that I got out of his presentation was you don't have to cram as many songs into a set as you possibly can. In fact, do less songs so you have more space to play. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
I
That
saw
was
the
really cool.
Black Crowes show. Literally, those guys played like 5 songs the entire hour.
Right?
And
Melissa
they
Etheridge.
It was like, okay, but it was brilliant. It was a brilliant show. I didn't feel chipped
Yeah.
at all.
Right? Yeah.
But
Yeah.
5 songs.
Melissa Etheridge, when she did her show at Stubbs this last year, she did an encore that was 30 minutes. It was one song. It was one song. I forgot what song she was doing halfway through because it was so amazing. She had the keyboardist was doing a solo, and then she was doing a solo, and then the bass player was doing a solo, and then the drum was doing a solo, and then she was doing drums with the drummer, and there was so many different things, so many different parts. Yeah, pretty much. And then she like came right back into it. Bam, whatever. I forget what the song was, but it was like didn't miss a beat, and I was like, oh yeah, we're playing that song. It was 30 full minutes of one song, and I was not bored at all. It was amazing.
Imagine what you could do with your song Accordion Girl, Jake.
Yeah.
That could go 30 minutes.
Ah,
Uh-huh.
It might. It's already about
Next-
like 4.5
next time.
minutes. So. We'll see.
Whole arrangement of accordions.
Mm-hmm.
So you did the singer-songwriter one, but then there was a full band
Yeah.
as well? Okay, so when I was there, I only saw the full band version of Okay. So
I went to both of them, and
changes your whole perspective on it, right?
It really does. But he was like, during the full band, he did some more playing with the song arrangement, but then they did things like call and what was it called? Call and response, where the vocalist was doing, you know, vocal, and then the guitar would try to echo that on guitar, and then he placed them at either ends of the stage, and the vocalist would do the thing, and then the guitarist would do the thing, and then they would take a step. And the vocalist would do a thing, and the guitarist would do a thing, and they would take a step. And at the end, they were like rocking out, jamming together, and they were, you know, super close, facing each other, and it was like this big old thing that they just brought them together and brought you together, and you're just, by the end, you're like, oh my God, that's so cool, you know. And the band was amazing too, which didn't hurt.
And the one I attended to, that I was impressed with. He was very empowering, because the band came out and he said, just come out and just do your set. Mm-hmm. So the band came out, started doing their set, and in like 30 seconds, right, he stops it, and he's like, "What's all this shit on the stage?" Right? And the band's like, "Well, it was all here, like it's all like the wires and the speakers." And he's like, "You don't play in front of this shit." He like had him like stop the song, move the speakers out of the way, and they were kind of like, really? Like then he was like telling them, like, you own this stage, right? Like, I don't care what venue you're in, you move their speakers, you move this where you need them to. And the band was all like, fuck yeah, I'm moving all this shit around. And they like took control, and it was pretty cool to see. Because how many times that happened? I've seen lots of shows here in town where the band just walks in. It's like, that's where everything's at. So we're gonna work with this little space here. But he was like, nope, just move everything around, take it over. That was pretty cool.
I would say, I kind of forgot what we were talking about, but if I was gonna say like one other thing, and this doesn't necessarily apply to me that much, but I just thought you guys might be interested, is I went to a session on booking, and it was really cool, because I feel like booking is such a abstract thing in a way, because you're like, oh, I don't want to get on this person's nerves, but I also want to play really bad, and so it's just kind of an awkward situation. But this guy works for a booking company, and he had a really great formula. And he does this for his whole living with a lot of artists. And he said, first off, you should know it's like volleyball. It's not like you tell your whole life story in the first email and hope that you get a gig. It's like your only job is to serve in the first email. And he said what that should be like is your pitch needs to be short and specific. The subject needs to be your artist's name plus 2 to 4 dates. He calls it the 2 to 4 rule. If you say less than 2, you're being too specific. If you say more than 4, you look kind of desperate. So 2 to 4 dates.
What do you mean, like you're saying you're available?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, and this is specifically about touring. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to be here December 11th, 12th, and 13th. Or something like that.
Or checking their calendar too. Check the venue's calendar if they publish it online, and see what they have open, and go, hey, I noticed you have these openings. I can do these dates. Absolutely.
And then he said it needs to have like an intro and about, basically who you are, what your genre is. And he said it's important to highlight one similar success. So if you're trying to play like a 100-person listening room, you need to highlight a time when you played a 100-person listening room and you sold 45 tickets at $10 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like, you just need to tell them straight up, this is what happened last time. And then he said put a live link to a similar venue. So it seems like there was a lot of this consistency. Like, you need to tell them when you were in a similar venue, same size, same vibe. You need to have a link of you playing at that venue. And then he said, don't confirm the gig until they make an offer for payment. If they don't make an offer for payment, you can say something, let's focus on December the 12th. Can you make an offer for that? It's like the correct way to do that. And then he said follow up consistently, like once a week, once every 2 weeks. I just thought that was nice to get like a template for how to book gigs. And I guess the other big thing was, he says it's not good just to tour randomly. You should tour in places that you're going to be able to go back to every 8 to 12 weeks.
8 to 12 weeks.
Because you're building up a market. You can advertise on social and online. He said Indie on the Move. It's a great resource. And then he basically said you need to focus on relationships with talent buyers, promoters, and artists. Talent buyers being the random bookers / bartender / person who's just doing it because they have to most of the time. or for that one specific bar, and they're mostly focused on getting seats filled. Promoters work with a bunch of different venues, and so they're more in for the long-time journey with you, so they're more invested. And then he said artists are the best way to really do it, because if you meet an artist in Houston, they can bring you in on their show, you bring them on your show in Austin, and then you just develop that network wherever you're going to be touring.
That's good.
Your notes are almost the same as mine.
We both took good notes.
I'm like, yep, I got that. Yep, I got that.
And we're almost at an hour too. So let me ask, were there questions that you all have? 'Cause I know we stopped the recording too. There'll be more questions. But any questions top of mind you guys had that we haven't asked? So then any other key nuggets that you guys want to share from the conference you think would be valuable? And you guys have covered probably most of the ones that were highlighted for you. But you guys have a lot. I get to see all their notes, and there are a lot of notes, which is great.
Yes, we recorded a lot of. Did you record sessions too?
No, I didn't.
I recorded a bunch of sessions. If you go to CD Baby's Facebook page, they recorded all of their like official ones, so you can go and watch for free. The Tom Jackson makeovers and stuff; those are all up on their Facebook page.
That brings me to a personal question.
Oh, great. We got personal questions. Definitely repeating this.
And this is for me, from my intel, which is, bottom line, how much did you spend to go and participate in the Nashville?
So what's the investment to get there and go to the conference?
$1,500.
That's good.
Because that's a hotel and food.
I drove with a friend. We got a hotel it took us 2 days. We split it up, the driving over 2 days. So we got a hotel on the way, and then I booked at the Hampton Inn, which is across the street from the Omni, so it was not quite as expensive. And then we got a hotel on the way back.
Conference tickets. Food.
The conference ticket
It's
is
cheap.
so cheap. It's $69. So it's all hotel is a lot of what you're paying for.
And they were early on offering up, if you bought a ticket to the conference before the hotel sold out, they included the hotel.
No, it was
So that was
if
their
you bought the
pre, right?
hotel,
Oh, sorry,
they
if
gave
you bought the hotel,
ticket
you got
for
the
free.
thank
They're
you.
not
Yeah,
doing
sorry.
that this year, by
Yeah.
the way.
So that was helpful too. Yeah. So if you got in early, but yeah.
I would get on couchsurfing.com and create a profile and start
Sure.
developing your connection.
That sounds
Yeah.
like fun, because I love surfing.
Yeah, man.
So yeah.
Just show up and places to stay.
I'm gonna have to do math again, which is probably not a good thing. My mom's a math teacher. She'd be ashamed of me. I'm sorry, Mom. But basically, I paid $250 for a round trip plane flight, and then my Airbnb was like $60 a night, and I stayed there, I think 3 nights. You guys keeping a tally?
Yeah.
And then the conference ticket, I missed the first date, so I think I paid like $99 for it. And then, of course, like food and drinks when I was there. But it really didn't feel like that big of a deal, almost because I bought the plane ticket like 2 months before. So I paid like $350 then with the plane ticket and the CD Baby ticket. Then my Airbnb was like $180, and then just whatever I spent while I was there, Uber rides.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friends had a friend who did the Uber, so I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
have to pay for, like their friend drove for Uber, so
Every-
I didn't have to pay
Every
for that.
Uber car I got into, it was like, I used to be a musician. Some of my Uber drivers had
inspiring.
like top 40 songs like back in the 80s, and I'm like,
And now
Also
they're
that's-
driving
I
for
looked them
Uber.
up. It's definitely true.
Did you guys participate in like the first night too, where they do just I think more of an open mic, don't they? Like where you think you have to register, but they do kind of a closed mic to perform. Did you guys go to that?
It was an open mic. You
Yeah,
walked in
cool.
the door, you put your name in the hat, and
That's
they
fun.
drew.
So you can see all these other musicians.
But neither
there.
of us got.
You
We
didn't
talked
perform.
about it. Neither of us got picked.
Yeah. No, I didn't get picked.
But it was
You're right. Yeah.
Don't pull any awesome up.
Yeah.
it was super cool though. Everybody was really amazing.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna wrap up the live stream. I think we had a couple of viewers chime in, so
All
that was good. So thanks if you're still on. We appreciate it. Hopefully this is helpful, and we'll pull out some of the sound bites and then maybe pop them up later. So thanks, Alex. Thanks, Jake.
My pleasure. Thanks
Cool.
for having us.
Yeah, we'll stick around. You got other questions? So all right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks
Cool.
for having us.
Yeah.